You're getting better at them.
I'm getting better?
Could you imagine after Blair,
How can you get any better than perfection?
After Blair just edited that whole
We
like
just start
nice
arguing.
conversation, we just start yelling at each other and like throwing things.
Hey, Lauren,
Hi, Bobby.
you know what's really creepy? Dating.
I was about to say everything.
Everything.
Dating
Including dating.
dating is creepy because I say all the time I'm so glad I don't have to date anymore.
Yeah. I hear it from, or I heard it and hear it from my friends who were and are single in the new age of dating with.
I was gonna say, wait, most of your friends are
I know, well-
married now. Who's dating? Who's still dating?
I said I did,
I
and
need to know about this.
well, there's still not some of my friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I am very fortunate that we found each other
Before
the online dating experience became what it was. I was on OkCupid for like a month.
Yeah, you told me that.
Is that what it was called? Yeah.
Yes.
I
I
think
think
so.
that's still around because it was the
Yeah.
only like free one.
And I'm
right?
pretty sure I found, remember that other Lauren that worked at Fuse?
Oh yeah.
I think we I found her on it. I don't think we
Oh,
like
you
matched,
matched.
or I don't think we matched. I think I just
How
like
dare you?
saw her on there.
How dare you match with another Lauren?
But yeah, no,
Was it because is OkCupid one of the only free ones? Is that why? I don't know anything. I literally have
Okay,
never signed up for a dating website.
yeah, I don't know. I remember I didn't.
Not to say if I was single when that was a bigger thing, or when I was, I don't know, feeling a bit. I think because I was young and I was around new people all the time, I didn't feel the need for a dating app because I literally met new people all the time.
Well, there was no apps when
But-
we were.
I know, but I get it. Like after you leave college and you start a job, if nobody's at your job that you really
For
are
sure.
into,
For
how
sure.
do you meet other people? You're not just gonna go like sit in a bar.
I mean,
guess
that's what you
could.
do.
I guess
That's
you
how my
could.
parents met. My dad was in Germany in the army, and my mom was in a bar, and that's how they met.
That's true.
And here I am.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what I would prefer. Would I prefer meeting somebody that I literally know nothing about and then have to like Google them later? Would I rather that, or would I rather read and or see the details of somebody beforehand to decide if I'm gonna like waste my time or not? I don't know what I would prefer.
I don't
now
think
that I'm
it's
thinking
good because
about
I
it.
think people you can put whatever you want there. It's a front, and you can get false.
That's true. But you can research them before you even see them.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
it's
I've
good to
heard
look
is-
them up.
Yeah. Which if somebody's really good at what they do, like playing the game, research is gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
I've learned from my podcasts that I listen
Probably-
to, which I'll talk about later.
Probably more information than you need.
Yeah. Well, I that's one of my topics is
Yeah.
like why. But I think we should start with our it's gonna be like couples therapy because I don't think we talked about it when
Mine's
we
not
first
going to be much.
Yeah, we talked about this when we first started dating, but we haven't talked about it in like years
Yeah.
because it's not relevant.
You want me to go
anymore.
first so I can take my 10 seconds?
Where I said we're going to talk about our dating history before each other.
Yeah.
And then we could talk about how our dating history went together.
All right, ready for a nice long story?
Sure.
I dated a girl in 8th grade, and then we broke up over the summer. That's about it.
So how long was that?
I don't know. Months?
You don't know. Months.
Some months.
Okay. Was there anybody that you did that you weren't like officially dating, but
Nope.
you were kind of seeing each other? Oh, okay.
Nope.
What about the girl you told me the sad story about that you made her a costume and she didn't accept it in college?
You're a
Did you
con-
make this up? To
No, I just have
feel
a
sympathy?
terrible memory.
You told me you helped make this girl a Halloween
Oh.
costume because you liked her, and then she just
Yes.
like
There was that,
didn't
yes.
care.
Okay, I forgot. We never dated. We never hooked
Yeah,
up. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
We were just friends.
Okay.
And I completely forgot about that. So I did not have a very exciting dating.
Fruitful dating.
Yeah.
Is that why you went on to OkCupid?
Well, that was later on, but yeah. And then I met you, and that was it.
I remember this was a topic when we first started dating,
Yeah.
though, because I was worried that you hadn't dated enough, and I was like, "How do you know
So the reason
that you want to be with me?" Because
One
Which
of
is
the-
a legitimate ask.
For sure. But one of the reasons I wasn't as like outgoing with dating was because a lot of my friends, I saw them having terrible experiences.
Same.
And I was just like, I'm just gonna wait till I find someone that's worth my time.
Oh.
That was literally and then, yeah, like you said, there was the one girl in college who I was interested in, but I don't
Nothing
think,
happened.
it wasn't reciprocated.
Oh.
Obviously I'm heartbroken over it because I completely forgot about it.
Think about it all the time.
And literally that was it. Nothing. There was never any other person that I dated. So that's my nice long dating history. I definitely would have used apps, I'm sure, if they were around, but
Same.
we found each other at the end of college. So
We found each other, I think, right when the app dating scene just
2010.
started.
2010.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We met each other in 2010. We started dating in 2011.
Like I don't even think I downloaded it to even see what it was like.
Yeah, I mean,
I only watched
I didn't
my
even have
friends do
I
it.
didn't even have an iPhone, so there was no apps. It was just
that's right.
I had a
Same.
Palm Pre
Palm
before
Pre.
I got my first iPhone.
I had a Droid. That's what
Yeah.
it's called. I was like one of the
Droid.
first androids. The
My
Droid.
friend had it, and every time you get a text, it would be like,
Yeah,
Droid.
Droid. I had it. That was one of my favorite phones. It was like my first big smartphone.
Olaf had it, and we always made fun. We called him Droid Loft.
Droid.
Yeah, that's it. I was on OkCupid for I feel like a month. Nothing came of it. I don't think I was trying that hard.
Yeah. You were building a career.
Yes, I was.
Same.
Just a lonely guy.
Oh, I mean, mine's sad, not as lonely, but still sad.
Yeah.
It's funny because I listen to a lot of podcasts now, which I'll talk about later, about women dating people with red flags. And then I think back on my relationship and I'm like,
Red
oh,
flag.
I'm like,
red flag.
oh my God, this was a bad situation that when you're in it, you like don't, it's true. You always, you judge other people. You're like, why would they stay? Why would they deal with this? And then when you actually go through and you come out the other side, you're like, oh, it's because it's either like one of your first relationships. So you don't know what a relationship is supposed to be kind of.
Yeah.
Or you have friends who have terrible relationships and then you have a terrible relationship. You're like, oh, all relationships are like this. You just deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, at least he's not this bad. Like, is like some of the things you would say.
What was my red flag? That I didn't date much?
Your red flag is that you didn't date much, which is fine. Like, as long as you had justification for why you were cool with not dating anymore if we were serious. And then.
Oh, no. What did I
Wait,
do?
we didn't. Fine, I'll do this first, but we didn't go over my dating history. Now
I know,
we're getting
it's
into
fine.
our own. No, I remember there was one time you came over, but you were just being an adult, I guess. But like when you came over and you spent the night, we weren't dating. We weren't even like together. You were just like coming to hang out. And you brought like a toiletry bag, which was the first time I had ever seen a guy go to somebody's house with a toiletry bag. Which I now, in retrospect, it's because you had to go to work the next day. I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
was
sure
just going to say that.
so you had to make sure you.
But I was coming over to spend the night.
Yes, it was. Wasn't it the St. Patrick's Day when we all were hanging out?
So what was wrong with that?
Just guys in college, just I don't know, rolled out of bed and went to work like they didn't care so much.
So that should have been a green flag. Like, wow, he actually
or they would bring
wants
like
to be presentable.
Backpack. You had like a legit like man toiletry bag.
Damn right.
So at first I was like, is he gay? I did not know.
It was probably
the
like a
first time
scrambled
hanging-
bunch of stuff, like a toothbrush, deodorant.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back, yes, it was just you trying to have your stuff ready because
we
you had
had
to go to work, a legit job in the morning.
Exactly.
Not just like.
That's funny. I never knew that.
I told you that at some point. You probably forgot. Your memory is not very good.
No, we know this. We've established this.
Okay, before we get into our date, because
So
I don't know if we ever.
Look, your phone turned off, and you said it wouldn't.
All right, well,
I win.
I'll have to change that.
Your red flag is you never listen to me. I'm always right.
Red flag.
Red
It's
flag.
supposed to always be right.
Just never listens to me.
Well, my dating history, I'll be brief.
Have fun with
Because
that.
it's awkward to talk about anyway, even though we've talked about this when we were dating. But my first boyfriend was terrible. Don't know if he listens to our podcast. Who knows? But if he doesn't think he's terrible, or was terrible, that's also a red flag. Again, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt because we were in high school and like I feel like nobody knew how to be in a good relationship then. I know some people who made it through.
I was just gonna say, it's
if
always
you're a nice
interesting.
person, I feel like
it's interesting when you find couples that have been together since high school.
Yeah, like more power to you. That's crazy because I feel like me in high school wanted to date way different people than like me as an adult.
Well, of course, obviously changed and matured, but
yeah, but I always think, I'm like, could you imagine if I like married that guy? I probably would have been divorced by now. I get it
that's
now.
Probably why a lot of people end up divorced.
Yeah, but I guess the easiest way to talk about this is to tell the bad, like why it didn't work out. It's probably the easiest.
Tell the story that I think I remember. Are you doing that or no?
What story about this guy?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple red flags. I don't even know if I dove into the details, but now that I've listened to podcasts and listened to other people's horror stories, I'm like, oh my God, that happened to me. And I just didn't realize it. So first of all, he told me at one point, he asked what I wanted to do in my career, like when we were getting to know each other, obviously. And I was like, I don't know, like maybe be a vet, like I'm gonna go to college, whatever. And he was like, no, if we're gonna be together, like we're gonna have children and I want you to be a stay-at-home mom. Red flag. Like you should not be dating somebody who's like, I hear what you're saying of what you want to do, but this is what I want. And
he was older than you, right?
By 2 years.
Okay.
But yes, he was older than me. So there was that. So I remember like still in my brain, I'm like, when he said that, I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work out.
I'm older by 2 years as well. You just got a thing for older guys, apparently.
My only other serious boyfriend was also 2 years older than me.
That's funny. That's true.
That's true.
Just need that 2 years, huh?
Apparently.
You were born 2 years too late.
Boys were at my level when they were 2 years older than me. Then we were
When
compatible.
I was 2, you weren't even alive yet. That's great. No, all right, carry on.
So there was that. Then there was, he would write, is this the stories? So in AIM, a lot of people would write like AIM, sorry.
Oh my God.
AOL Instant Messenger.
A lot of people probably don't even know what that is.
It's basically before texting was a thing and before like Facebook Messenger and all that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was AIM Instant Messenger.
Yep.
And people could leave away messages when they would leave their computer. So you knew they weren't there in case you were trying to talk to them and they weren't answering. And you could also have a profile, which was just text.
Yeah.
And you could color it and whatever.
Yeah.
But there was no emojis. There was none of that. And a lot of people in high school would write passive aggressive, like song lyrics.
Yep.
And then so if you asked, you were like, who's that about? They'd be like, oh, it's not about anybody. It's just a song lyric and make you think you're crazy. So he would write, like while we were seeing each other, he would write like initials of people. I was like, who's like with like a lovey like lyric and then the initials of somebody who was not me. And I'd be like, what are these initials? And they're just like, oh, it's a friend of mine. And I'm like, oh,
jeez.
Okay.
I didn't know that one.
This is my first relationship. So I'm just like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah. That's just what
I was only like, what?
He's just very loving.
15, 16. I don't know.
He's a very loving guy.
He's like, oh, he loves his friends.
Older guys must be very loving.
So then fast forward through our relationship. And it all came down to, I'll never forget. We were going to homecoming and literally it was like, no, I guess it was a year after my dad passed. Oh yeah, another red flag.
This was the one, I think.
Right after my dad, like we had been like kind of seeing each other, but we weren't official, like that whole dance in high school. And then after my dad passed away, we started dating like 2 days after. Like he asked me to be his girlfriend 2 days after my dad died. Give a girl a breather, okay? You obviously were taking advantage of a vulnerable situation of somebody being like, I'm alone and nobody understands. And it's like, yeah, so another red flag.
That was the one I remembered, yeah.
That was the story.
I thought
my mom hated him after that. She was like,
I thought he like,
for just
didn't he also like
reasons.
honk the horn and not come in or something?
Yeah, so not the first couple times, but eventually he would just sit in his car, pull up and honk the horn for me to come out, which another red flag. If
you're spending a lot of time with loved ones this holiday, chances are you're probably going to hear a lot of stories.
The ones you love to hear and the ones you've heard too many times.
But if you ever wanted to help your loved ones document those timeless stories,
it can be challenging to write an entire book of life memories, but Storyworth makes it fun and easy. And they're also the sponsor of today's episode.
And this is how anyone can write a book about their life.
So every week, Storyworth will email your loved one a single life-related question that you pick from their collection. Like, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? Or what's the farthest you've ever traveled?
And all they have to do is reply with a story.
Then after a year, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories, memories, and even any photos into an exquisite hardcover book, creating a valued keepsake. So actually, I was excited to get Storyworth as a sponsor for this episode because I just learned about them last year for Christmas. My sister had gifted Storyworth to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I didn't give the gift and even though I didn't receive the gift, I pretty much got a gift because now I get to see what she wrote and it's going to be for our whole family to have and enjoy.
Yeah. I really wish I'd done this with my grandpa because he had a million stories he told all the time that we all heard, but you love to hear them again. So I wish this was around when he was still around because it would have been cool he would have loved this. He would have loved, he had stories for everything.
That book would have been really big.
Millions of stories have already been told with Storyworth because they make the process so simple.
Get started with your loved one for the holidays, and before you know it,
you'll both be cherishing those timeless stories for generations to come.
So obviously my mom is still compiling it because she got it for Christmas last year, and you have to do it for the whole year before the book's created.
Mm-hmm.
But she did tell me one of the questions asked was what was her relationship like with her mom when she was younger? And now that I have my own daughter, I'm really excited to read that story so that I know like what their relationship was like versus mine and her relationship versus my daughter and my relationship. So it's just like generational.
Yep. Help your family share their story this holiday season with Storyworth.
Go to storyworth.com/ZSide today and save $10 on your first purchase.
That's STORYWORTH.com/ZSide to save $10 on your first purchase. Storyworth.com/ZSide.
And as always, thank you, Storyworth, for being a sponsor of today's episode and for supporting the podcast.
Thank you.
Also, when we went on our first date, I'll never forget this too. It's where I met one of my really good friends, was his friend. Literally all his friends that I would meet, they would be like, "You're awesome. And I don't know why you're seeing this guy. He's terrible."
Sucks. What are you doing?
They were like, "But we're his friends. So we're going to try to sugarcoat it." But at the same time, they'd be like, "No, he's terrible." All of his friends after this relationship disintegrated became my friends and not his friends.
That's
because they knew how nice of a person I was and hated what he did. But literally he said it was a date. We went out and then his friend is in the back seat. I'm like, okay, this is not a date. And then the whole time I'm hanging out with his friend because he met these two girls at the mall and was trying to talk to them. But in my brain, I was like, well, we're not official, so I guess he could do that. I don't know. We're friends, I guess. I want to be that cool girl that can hang out with the guys and not say anything. But another red flag, right?
A lot of red. A lot of red flags.
And then the red flags actually led to something. It wasn't to nothing. Because on our homecoming night, I think it was a year after my dad died. So not right after. But we went out and basically he wanted me to go to this after party at a hotel. I'm 16. My mom's like, "You are not going to an after party at a hotel room." I was like, obviously I gave her crap, but thinking back, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially with this guy that you do not trust.
Older guy.
So I came home, even though I was all mad and upset about it.
I want to go party.
And then he went to the party and hooked up with some girl in the bathroom while all of his friends are out in the hotel that know me, that are friends with me. So obviously, eventually one of them told me, maybe a week later, was like, "I can't keep not telling you this, but this is what happened." And then he basically blamed it on me not being allowed to go to the party. And so he was upset and got drunk and then hooked up with somebody else. So of course,
he should.
Wasn't his fault.
No,
it was my fault
your
because
fault.
I didn't go.
How could you?
This wouldn't have happened if you were there.
Wow. And I'm assuming you broke up after that?
We did, but then I still saw him because I was like, I still love him and whatever as a 16-year-old stupid person.
Oh
but
my
I
God.
think I had to go back. I think when somebody cheats on you, you like, it doesn't automatically make you not have feelings for that person. I think it's more like, I think the way that you need to like get away from them is to go back and be like, oh, okay, I can never trust you. So like this, like, I think it just, when I went back and tried to make it work for a couple months, in my head, oh yeah, then he would start posting pictures with he was hanging out with the girl that he had cheated on me with. And I was like, what is happening? He was like, I don't know. Our friends just invited her because they're friends with her too. Like, just thinking back to this, I'm just like, no wonder I was like, had so much anxiety. My dad had passed away. I was dealing with this crazy boyfriend who was like making me think that everything was my fault and I was crazy. God. Yeah, I found out later, like after we had fully like not been talking to each other, that he was dating like so many people while he was with me.
Wow. You make me want to go back and explain my dating story a little more in depth.
Why? Well, wasn't the girlfriend you had, she was dating one of your friends and then dated you and then dated somebody else after that? Like simultaneously while you were all seeing each other?
So
I told you, high school people
it
are
was middle
messed
school.
up.
It was 8th grade. So yeah, she was dating Tim.
Yeah.
But
who's a friend of yours that we still know.
Who's one of my best friends who married a Lauren.
Yeah, which is also
who went to college with me and lived with me. Now we're playing each other for a spot in our fantasy football playoffs. Anyway. Yeah, so she was dating him, cheated on him with, like, not really cheat. I don't know. I can't remember the total, like.
I don't remember the timeline.
But it was like she left him for me.
It was very close together.
We were dating for a little while, and then she cheated on me with a acquaintance of mine. And then I remember, like, shortly after that in the summer, I was in like a summer basketball league, and my team was playing his team, and I played awesome. Like, scored so many points, didn't pass the ball, just like wanted to dominate, and I did, and it was fun. And then, so that was going into 9th grade, so freshman year, and then my junior year or senior year, we ended up getting back together for a weekend, hooking up, and then never spoke again.
Sounds about right.
She said she like.
When this was high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her thing was like, the way we got back together, she started texting saying she missed me. And I was like, oh, okay. But
that's how they get you. That's how they get you.
And then she came over like a party that my friend was having, and we hooked up, and then that was it. She was.
Sounds about.
Yeah.
Sounds about the
She got what she wanted and left me.
Well, at least we see the side of like girls can be just as mean as guys, which I also have seen. Like, some of my friends were also very mean to guys in high school. Not saying it's just guys. I just happen to have one of the worst. Like, literally after we broke up, people were just like, yeah, I don't know why you were with him. He was definitely doing? Like hooking up with. But
he was cheating on you like the whole time.
But the best part, because you just reminded me, he had a girlfriend when we first started talking. And then he pretended he did not have a girlfriend. That's whose initials he was posting. So technically, I was the other woman, not this other girl.
Damn.
And then he broke up with her and then cheated on me with somebody else. So that's why. And then the same thing happened. Like, I feel like if somebody cheats on their significant other with you.
Once a cheater, always a cheater.
I don't know if I believe.
I mean, maybe
I
at
think it depends on the
some point when you're older, but most people I know that cheat or are promiscuous or not, monogamous, continue to not
do it.
Continue to.
I feel like if you do it once and you feel okay about it, like you're not, it doesn't make you feel like a bad person. You're gonna just do it again. Like the only way to not the only way to not cheat. Usually, I find that like it's issues with the relationship. I feel like not people who are in a perfect, awesome relationship tend to cheat. And that's, I don't know. But
I also think a lot of people,
I think something falls apart in the relationship, and instead of addressing it and figuring it out, they try to find
comfort in someone else.
And usually for women, it's like a mental thing. Like they feel like they're not mentally taken care of. So they'll go find a guy that's like, you're beautiful and perfect. And what do you mean he doesn't like appreciate you? Like that type of guy.
Yeah.
And then for guys, it's usually like more physical, but not always.
I also think people are like never satisfied. Some people, so they just are always grass is always greener.
Or they settle. They feel like they settled. So then when they find somebody that they're like,
But I think
that's what I mean. That's a problem in the relationship.
But I think some people, especially when you're younger, are always chasing like something better, younger, someone better, when you're younger, experience.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but like for me, being in a serious relationship while I was younger was dumb.
It's
because
dumb.
like
you're not an adult.
You don't know
yet.
who you are.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So that's why I always cut some slack.
Some people definitely are more mature at a younger age, and that's why I think those couples that have been together since high school last, or you've like the couples that do last, they were probably more mature, whatever it may be, more
or a nicer person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think
I mean, it can happen. Or I know people who dated in high school, broke up, and then got back together like when they were an adult.
Yeah.
That's totally fine too. Because then you're like, okay, like I've missed you this whole time. I've seen other people. It wasn't the same. Which is even more reaffirming, I feel like.
Yeah. I just think like dating when you're young, and then young, I'll just say like before 18, before college, before you start getting out of your small town or
like we talk, not never as friends, but like we were more acquaintances later because I wasn't as I always like in my head I was just like, yeah, you were a dumb kid and I was dumb for like staying with you.
Yeah.
Like it's fine, I don't hate you, but like you've taught me very important lessons now.
Exactly. But that what I say, but I also think people should date and experiment young because it teaches you that at a young age.
You should date.
Just don't let it destroy you.
And don't stay with somebody who's like everybody's telling you.
Don't let it forever ruin your view of dating or being romantic, etc.
Yeah.
And be careful and don't make mistakes that could have long-lasting consequences.
Yeah, that too.
Wrap it up.
But yeah, he was the only person I like seriously dated in high school. Then there was like guy friends that would be like, oh, maybe we'd be a good couple. And then we're like, no. Like that type of thing.
Yeah, I had some of those.
And then I went to college. Yeah, I went to college again, just like kind of did the like dating scene, like would go to like a party. Thought we liked each other. Yeah, I don't know, would go to a party together.
Yeah.
Maybe kiss, but then be like, nah, I'm not vibing. This isn't my scene. And then that was I only really had 2 serious boyfriends. So it was the first in high school, and then the second was in college, who was somebody from my hometown, who was definitely a better relationship than that. He wasn't cheating on me. But looking back, again, I think because I was in college, it was a long distance relationship with never works, but like it's very, very hard, especially when you're in college and all you're doing is partying.
I would assume the success rate on long relationships is under 10%.
Yeah.
Very low.
It was not good. Like, and that was a worse one because I had known him before and like he's generally a good person. I don't know. I haven't seen or talked to him in how long have we been together? 11 years. Probably like a year before. But yeah, I except for my best friend's wedding. I had to run into him and it was awkward. But I'm sure
My Best Friend's Wedding.
My Best Friend's Wedding, yes.
It's a movie, right?
I mean, he's married now. It seems like it worked out that we didn't work out. But I will say I was probably the worst person. Not the worst person. I feel like there's 2 sides to every story because I always beat myself up about this relationship thinking it was my fault. But now looking back, I think it was both of us because
From what you've told me, it sounded like it was just
because
you were different.
Yeah, because we were long distance.
And that.
He was worried about because he wasn't going to college and he wasn't in New York City and I was doing all these really cool things and like
I mean, if I was dating someone and I was in my hometown and they were in New York City, I would not be that would not feel very
and so he would see me
trusting.
Like he would see me in pictures like hanging out with other guys and whatever and like I wasn't doing anything, like they were friends.
Yeah.
But I get it. So but instead of like I don't know, maybe being like, hey, maybe we should like not do the long distance thing and after college or if we get to be closer, then maybe try it. Instead of that, it went downhill. It was like he would be upset if I like posted a profile picture where I looked really good. He would be upset if I like wore too much makeup or wore an outfit that he didn't approve of. And it became this like red flag of like, why are you telling me? Like, you obviously don't trust me.
Yeah.
And you're telling me now what I can and can't do. Oh, and if I was like in class and didn't text him the second I got out of class, like I got caught up talking to a teacher or a student, like we'd have a huge fight about it. Like these are all like very like possessive traits. And I get why he was like that, but at the same time, it was not healthy.
Exactly. I was just going to say, like, I can't blame him for doing that, but, obviously took it too far. And
it just wasn't
a bad
gonna
experience
work
for both of you.
Yeah. And I remember having conversations of being like, okay, well, like, I can't keep doing this. We keep fighting. How are we going to make this work? And like every time I would give solutions, he was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I was like, okay, well, if you're not going to compromise, then I can't compromise.
Yeah.
And then obviously some other person came in and was like, oh, like, why are you trying to think who it is?
No.
Oh, he like looked to the side. A friend of mine was like doing not love bombing, which I will talk about later because I learned what that is, but like was the person that was like, oh, like I'll be your stand-in boyfriend type person, like not hooking up or anything, but like we'll hang out when like all our friends are together and they're because all my friends were like dating each other.
Oh, I think I know who it is.
So it's kind of that.
Start with
like,
this letter.
Oh, you're. No, who's that?
No?
Did you say Jay?
Jay.
No, who's that?
Jimmy?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, I know who. Okay,
I love you,
mind.
Jimmy, if you're listening to this right now, but no, we never did anything. He was always like, my brother. No, he was dating a girl for a really long time.
I know. Well, I don't know his name, but I think I know. Whatever.
You know him.
I was just
him.
Guessing.
Yeah, that was also not good. But basically, that like pushed me. I was like, I'm kind of having feelings for this other person. I shouldn't be with my long-term boyfriend. I broke up and then started seeing this other guy pretty soon after. Not like boyfriend, girlfriend, but like doing that dating dance. And then it didn't work out. But then at one point I was like going back, I was like, maybe I made a mistake and like was going back and forth. So I beat myself up about like not being honest to either of them, that I just didn't know what I want. And then eventually I was like, oh, maybe I just don't want either of them. And that's why. And then both of those fell apart. And then that's when I met you. So
it was short, and then you met me shortly after.
I met you while this was happening, but we were just coworkers. Yeah. We weren't like hanging out or anything outside of work. And then, once that both those crumbled into the vast abyss. Yeah, actually, the guy that I started trying to see after my like last serious boyfriend before you had a lot of the same red flags as my first boyfriend, I'm now realizing, and found out also that he had like when we were supposed to be like not seeing anybody else so he could see if it would work out, he like slept with somebody else.
And then you met and then you met me and then like, oh, he has a toiletry bag.
Yeah. This is different. Oh yeah, that was something my second boyfriend would do. Try to check my phone. That is also a big... that's... I don't care. Like now, obviously, if my phone's around, like I just felt like my phone couldn't be around because sometimes my phone would be around and I'd get a text and he'd be like, who is this person? And I'm like, my roommate's boyfriend. What do you mean? So it was both of them were very unhealthy. And then I think I met you and it was very healthy. And I was like, this is weird.
A good relationship? Trusting?
Well, I think that's why, like, we had the conversation. So we, I guess we'll get into this part, but we started seeing, we were coworkers for like a year.
A little less than a year.
Interns together.
A little less than a year.
Yeah. And then you got a job and I stayed on as an intern because I hadn't graduated yet because I'm younger. And then I don't even know. I know we like hung out at like one of the first times we like hung out outside of work it was a employee holiday party, but there was an open bar. Yeah. And I feel like that's always a little helpful because you can have drinks loosen up and like chat with your coworkers in a way that you don't normally.
I feel like I remember you, me, and like Josh.
Yeah, well, there was like 3 of us left till the end.
Hanging out talking.
We stayed all the way to the end.
Yeah. I miss Josh.
I know.
I miss Josh.
I miss a lot of people from that job.
Yeah, there was a lot of good people at Fuse.
Yeah.
A lot of cool people.
Yeah, and then I remember I walked you to the train. You took the train, then I had to take the subway back. This is all in New York City, by the way. I had to take this subway back.
Well, the bar was like right by Penn Station. We just walked to Penn Station together.
Yeah.
And I went on the train and you went.
And what's funny, so I don't even know if I told you this. So then we had that and I was like, that was a nice night. Like he's a cool guy. I can see like hanging out with him. And then I think the Linkin Park concert, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm looking this way. And I think the Linkin Park concert that we worked was after that.
I believe
right?
so.
Not before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was after.
It was after.
Like
that was
shortly
really cool.
thereafter. Yeah, because that was February.
And me and you spent a lot of time like downstairs playing on the iPad. I remember because I brought my iPad.
That was the Elton John show. We were like doing like wristbands and.
Then maybe it was I was with Chase at the Linkin Park. I definitely for the Linkin Park. I remember I was downstairs doing credentials for a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought you came down a couple times.
Yeah, I definitely like came around like, and then we're like,
us.
I like brought you to the one cool spot I found like right by the side of the stage where we watched them play.
And that was really cool. And I was like, wow, it was a really cool moment. I was like, he likes the same music as me. That's kind of cool and whatever. And I remember, I don't think I ever told you this, but like that night, the one guy that I had seen and it didn't work out invited me out like after the Linkin Park concert. He was like, we're all out at this bar. Like you should totally come, whatever. And I didn't go because I was like, that was like one of my first, like, I don't want to like waste time anymore with you. Like, I was like, I had such a fun night, like working the Linkin Park concert. I just want to end it at that. I don't want to like.
What could have been.
Yeah. Which is funny
Good
because like
choice.
once I started saying like me and you weren't official.
No, we were running anything.
Yeah.
We were just like
we weren't official, but even like when we were seeing each other and you were like, you asked if we were like boyfriend, girlfriend. I was like, I just want to. Later on.
Yes,
but this was still going because that guy was our friend.
Yeah.
So he was still like around.
Yeah.
But I was hanging out with them less and less because I had to work so much.
Yeah.
But then I said when we started like going on dates and like doing that type of stuff, I remember him like pushing more because he had heard I was like kind of hanging out with somebody else. So then of course, another red flag, waiting until like you can't have somebody anymore. And then I remember him coming and being like, he had told like my roommate at the time, like, I think I'm ready to settle down. And I was like, well, good luck.
Settle down.
Good luck with that. And like, he was definitely trying and I just was not having it anymore. I was like, no, like, I want to see how this goes. You were not good to me.
Yeah.
So I think that was finally like, you were my final knowing what was good for me, I guess, which is cute. Or seeing what a relationship that's actually like healthy and makes me not have anxiety feels like.
Trustworthy.
Yes. Yeah. I forget, did we ever tell our like first actual date story?
I don't think so.
Oh God. What?
Why? Oh God.
Because it's bad on my part.
Oh, that. I thought you were talking about like our legit.
Oh, no. That was just a movie and dinner date.
Yeah,
I'm talking about like the first time we ever like hung out outside of work to go do something.
That was you should tell this story so it doesn't sound like I'm the.
Okay, so I'm gonna try and be brief because we're already spending a lot of time on it. But I mean, I'm sure people are interested in this side of stuff because we don't really talk about it. But so the first time
I like hate this story because go on, tell the story, and then I'm gonna tell you what I think may or may not have happened.
Okay, so you hate the story because it makes you look suspicious?
Yes. I'm gonna preface it and say I didn't do anything. Hand to God on a Melody's life, I didn't do anything.
Okay, so to preface, he asked me to go to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Manhattan at the time.
To see my friends.
To go see his friends play a live show.
Yeah, they were in a band. Live friends.
It was like a dive bar.
Yeah, it was just some dive bar that my friends, they were in a band, they were playing shows.
Yeah. And back in the day, because I didn't have much money, I didn't even say like, he's gonna buy my drinks because it's like, because it wasn't framed like a date. It was
it's just like, hey, let's come to this cool thing with me.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, but it was the first time we were like hanging out with that vibe. So I was like, so I thought if I had drinks at the apartment, I could save some money because then I wouldn't have to buy as many at the bar, which was something I did a lot in college. And
it's called pre-gaming. Most people
pre-gaming. But I also had a really bad habit of not eating because
you still have a bad habit of that.
Because either like I was very skinny at this point too, but I usually didn't eat if I knew I was going out drinking so that I didn't have to drink. I didn't have to drink as much.
Yeah, we've all made that mistake.
And then I would eat at like 2 a.m, like pizza and like the worst food you could eat. So I feel like everybody's maybe done this at some point when they were young and dumb.
I mean, I feel like
do this.
I still sometimes I'm like, oh, if I don't eat, but then I'm like, actually, I should eat and should drink a lot of water so that I can not be hungover and not feel like crap.
So anyway, to preface, I had I think I had a drink, a mixed cocktail before we left, and I was in my apartment.
A Lauren cocktail or a Scott cocktail?
A Lauren. I remember it was like mainly.
All right, so
alcohol.
It wasn't one drink. It was
yes.
a few.
But to be fair, this wasn't my first rodeo. I knew how much I could and should.
I understand.
I was very good so this is why this story is so weird. I was very good in college at knowing my limits. I very rarely went over it. So I had that one drink that we went. I was feeling nice going there. And then I had 2 beers at the bar, which I usually don't have beer, but that was one of the, I didn't want to get too
destroyed.
bad.
Yeah.
Yes. Cause I was I want to talk. This is the first time I'm meeting his friends. If this is the date, it works out. I want to make a good impression, whatever. So, I was talking to his one friend and I just started getting super dizzy and not and I can't remember if I was talking to anybody else at the bar because I remember you were busy. I mean, that's kind of your alibi. You were doing stuff with the band a lot because I was talking to Olaf a lot.
Yeah.
Every now and then you come over and say something.
Yeah, I was my friend's manager per se. I would help them I would just help them set up, do stuff, sound check. I would help them out.
That's why I remember I was talking to Olaf a lot because he was sitting there with me.
Olaf, our friend Sean, he was the singer, so he didn't have to do as much. But I can't remember if anybody any people not in the group were at the bar with me. Probably. But I started getting super dizzy and nauseous, and I was trying to still make a good impression. I'm excuse me. I was and I remember I didn't even tell you. I kind of did, but I talked to Olaf. I said I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and he was okay. Then I went to the bathroom, and the next thing I remember is I'm on the floor. I had passed out, and people were banging on the bathroom door. Me and security guard banging on the door
to get into the bathroom.
I remember
this must have looked terrible for you.
I was terrified. Because I remember talking to Olaf and being where? And he's oh, she went to the bathroom. And then I went there waiting for you. And people were lining up to get in. And I remember the security guard bouncing him over. He's I'm yeah, she's in there. I don't know.
I'm surprised
what's going on.
I'm surprised they let me go with you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I had known you for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, you're lucky that you didn't give me any creep vibes because I may have been I think this guy did something to my drink. But you, honestly, you were not around me drinking at the bar at all. It was Olaf.
Olaf did it.
Who's the most puppy dog person.
Yeah. Nicest, one of the nicest guys.
Nicest guys.
So
I don't know. I don't know if I just really did not eat.
And I'm pretty sure we couldn't get into the door because it locked on the inside.
Yeah, I think I eventually unlocked
so we were just banging on the door and that's what woke you up, I guess.
I feel really
And
bad.
it was minutes. It wasn't.
I'm sad that that's our first out of. I remember thinking I was oh God, they're gonna think I'm just get wasted and pass out of bathrooms. That was the first time that had ever happened. That's why to this day I was I don't know if somebody else did it.
So we got you out, and I remember trying to revive you essentially, and give you water and do all these things, and that was it was after the show. Yes, it was after they had played, so I was helping them load equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then they drove us back to my.
So
apartment.
then I was oh, I have to get you home. You're obviously not feeling good. And I remember we were outside on the sidewalk.
I also feel I'm thinking in my head, I'm if somebody was trying to actually do this, say in an example, you were a terrible person and this is what you do, you definitely wouldn't have had your friends drop us off. You would have been we'll get a taxi.
Well, that's what I was trying to do.
Or try to go somewhere else. What?
I was trying to get a taxi because remember you were. I was holding you up. we were standing there and I was trying to get a taxi.
Yeah, I was leaning on.
And I ran to get a taxi and you fell over again.
And hit my head on the.
Yeah. And I remember being oh God. And then I think Sam, and then I asked Sam, Sam, will you please drive us back?
It's a miracle we made it. But then what's weird, then we got back to the apartment and I got sick and then I was fine.
Yeah.
So it was definitely I don't know. I either didn't eat enough.
You definitely didn't eat enough. And it probably was a small form of alcohol poisoning or.
It could have been. I didn't eat enough. I was also much thinner, like very skinny when we first started hanging out. I think I was like 111 pounds.
We were
both
a lot thinner.
I was like underweight for my age. So there was a lot of factors.
But yeah, obviously, like I said, I didn't do anything. I swear. I don't think anyone roofied you.
I don't think so either.
I think you just, like you said, drank.
Watch, we're gonna get so many comments of like, yes, you did.
Yeah.
Like, no, I know people who have been roofied, and it was not that.
Yeah.
Like it lasted.
Because you came back. You revived.
Like, yeah. Yeah. People with roofie, even if you throw up, you still have that in your system.
Yeah.
That's
I'm pretty sure you like black out after.
Yeah. I know people, it's lasted for like days.
Yeah.
Like they felt
or at least until
awful.
like the next like morning. You don't remember anything.
Oh yeah. And I remember like what happened.
I remember like going back to your apartment after and like hanging out and stuff.
Yeah. So that was our first
hangout. But then we had a legit date.
Yes.
We went and saw Thor, went to a restaurant.
Yes.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And you didn't pass out.
It worked out. Yes. I think after that, I just
also to say you were having issues of passing out. Remember,
I was
on the subway. We'd like So when we were dating, we would go from Queens to Manhattan.
I told you, I think I was just very underweight and not and malnourished.
And there was multiple times where Lauren would like black out on the subway.
Yeah, or I had to sit down, like crouch down in the middle of everybody and just turn like super white. And what's funny is I went to a doctor for that and they were like, oh, maybe you have anxiety. Here's some anxiety meds. And I was like, what? And like thinking back now, I'm like, I didn't have anxiety. Like, I was just like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what was causing me to pass out on a subway.
So that's our dating experience. Was that the first bullet point that took us 45 minutes to talk about?
I know.
It was good. It's going to be a nice long podcast.
It's fine. We could skip some of the bullet. Well, the other bullet points were just like thoughts on online dating.
Yeah.
Which we also had talked about already.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I wanted to say like.
Ours was good because we were like coworkers, but we were good with we were good under pressure working with one another and not like yelling at each other and getting mad at one another.
No, yeah.
Because I do know some interns.
Well, we were both like very determined people.
Yeah, but I feel like that was like a good starting point. Then we like became friends for a little bit, hang outside of work. So that was good. So it like built. We built like good each like
natural progression. And then when we did like start dating, I had a house with my friends in our college town, and I literally never went back. I stayed with you for. We started living together.
Do a roommates is creepy one.
Yeah,
I have some good stories.
I have a couple too. But yeah, we literally were like from the time that we were like officially dating, I lived with you in your apartment.
Yeah, because you didn't have the best living situation. I guess. Well, you had like a roommate in your room with you, so we never had like.
But I was working every day in the city. And you were living,
that's right too. Yeah. But then my living situation was bad. So that's why I wanted you there.
Yeah.
So that I wasn't alone because I wasn't feeling safe.
Yeah. So
just for another
it made sense on multiple points and it worked out great. It's the most festive time of the year, and HelloFresh, today's sponsor, is here to help make the most of every moment. From holiday hosting to dinner during busy weeknights, you can count on HelloFresh to deliver fresh ingredients and seasonal recipes.
Or maybe you're traveling over the holidays. Well, no worries, because HelloFresh has plans to work with your schedule. You could change your preferences, your delivery day, and even your address in just a few clicks.
Lauren and I are big fans of HelloFresh. We really enjoy getting the meals, putting them together. It's almost like a game or like a puzzle, especially the burgers I really like because it's such a simple thing, a burger, but with all the ingredients and the way they really like jazz it up, they're incredible.
Jazz.
They're really good.
I mainly like because I'm already trying to juggle so many things between getting gifts and wrapping and then hosting people and making sure that we're still eating. I'm glad that there's one thing off of my plate.
One less thing you have to think of.
One less thing I have to think of. One less thing I have to go grocery shopping for. It is awesome.
Yeah.
In the past on this podcast, we also talked about the company EveryPlate, which is now owned by HelloFresh. So now we don't have to choose between the two, which gives a wider array of meal plans to choose from, meaning there's something for everyone. Go to HelloFresh.com/ZSide18 and use code ZSide18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping.
Go to HelloFresh.com/ZSide18 and use code ZSide18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping.
Thank you, HelloFresh, for sponsoring today's episode. America's #1 meal kit.
#1, baby. Oh, yeah.
That's another red flag for me, actually. If somebody that, not right at the start, do not talk about your exes with somebody right at the start. It's never a good idea. But like, if you're in a serious relationship and you can't talk about your dating path, like I know people that get so mad when they hear about somebody being like, oh yeah, my ex. I'm like, why do you have to talk about
You
that?
saw
It's
someone
like,
before me?
It's like, do you really think that somebody like didn't date anybody before you? Like you just want to live in this fantasy land where you were like the only person they ever dated? I feel like it's like part of a healthy relationship is being able to talk about like your past relationships. Obviously they didn't work out. It'd be different if you were like, yeah, my ex that I hang out with every Sunday. It's like, then you'd be like,
then it's,
what happened there?
Oh, he's gay. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I think a few things that has made our relationship as successful as it has is that we've always been very open and communicate very well and honest. And that's two things that I think, like if you're open with your partner and you're honest with them and trusting, I think that can make up for a lot of other things that may not be perfect. But I think those are the most important.
And compromise. If you come up and you're like, this bothered me, and somebody's like, well, too bad.
Yeah.
Or like,
that's
well,
the honesty.
It's your fault.
You have to be honest with yourself and your partner. You have to communicate with them, which is another like honesty, and you have to trust them. You have to, because that was the thing I remember when we started dating is you would go like back home and you would be around your other ex-boyfriend, or you would go like
I
the
was
party.
always in a bad situation because my exes were always part of my friend group. So
or
like,
you
the
would
rest
go
of our
like
friends
out in the city with your friends, and I, wasn't there. I would go with my friends, and we always, I mean, I knew you had talked about like the trust issue, so I'm like, oh, I mean, not that I didn't trust you, but I knew that and you trusted me, so that's I think what made it was so work so well is that we trusted each other, so there was no like, oh, what are you doing? Yeah. Call me, text me.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you are looking for advice, I would say
dating
be
advice.
Open, be honest, and
I feel
communicate. Communicate. That's the biggest. I mean, communication is what leads to everything, but you have to communicate.
I feel like if
with
you're
your partner.
I remember with both of my boyfriends before you, I was always like scared to tell them things.
Yeah, it's not good.
And like with you, I did it, and that was a big calming thing for me because. Especially with my anxiety. Like, I can't imagine if I still was in a relationship where I was scared to like.
And I had seen a lot of those bad things happen with my friends. And I'm like, oh, this isn't working because they're not communicating. They're not honest. They're not trusting each other. So that's it. But yeah, like online to transition now, I think I have some thoughts about online dating, and I think it's pretty good. I think it gives a lot of people opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think the only bad side could be, it's a good and a bad, is like people have way too many options now.
Yes.
So instead of being like, I'll give this person a chance. Like, I feel like me and you, it wasn't like an instant love connection when we both met each other.
Yeah.
It was like built over
Just like,
time.
oh, you're cool. I like you. Let's hang out.
And then we were like, oh, we mesh well.
Yeah.
Like, and then like attraction grows from that and stuff. But it's like,
yeah, people have too many options.
When you have too many options, you don't give it.
You're quick to move on.
You're like, well, I could probably find somebody hotter. I could find somebody better. I could find somebody that like also really likes this one thing that I like.
Yeah.
Even if they're like, it's just it's the problem of choice, which I'm bad at too. I probably would have fallen into that trap because I'm bad with choice. Like if you give me too many options, I'm always like, what if I could have chosen a better option? Like. But yeah, the grass is always greener. But it's also good because you shouldn't, because it might keep people from settling who normally would settle. Because I know a lot of people that like, maybe not so much now. I feel like our generation especially is getting married later. And thus like the divorce rate is going down. I feel like back in the day you didn't have as many options. So a lot of times you'd settle. You'd be like, this person's a good person, even though I'm not like in love with them. They'll make a good dad and a good whatever.
Yeah, people got married for different reasons. It wasn't about like so much a relationship. It was other factors.
Yeah, it was like, do they have a good job?
Yeah, job.
Do they fit your religion?
Religious things, implications.
Do you think they'd make a good parent? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't so much, do you guys
Yeah.
like each other? Do you have fun together? Are you open and honest with each other?
Yeah.
So I feel like now it's gotten better.
Well, it's evolved. People are more communicative. I think it evolved, but now that there's an over communication, there's an over stimulus of,
that
like you
there's
said,
that
options.
problem
It's kind of
now.
going, now it's a new problem that we have to like
Figure
out. There used to be a lack of options, a lack of
that was the
a
problem.
lack of
There's
like,
never a middle ground. Well,
Yeah.
there can be. You got to just figure it
well,
out.
there is, that's why, 50% of the marriages, quote unquote, work, 50 don't, or whatever it is.
Well, it used to be. I think it's less now.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
It's better.
Stats.
Yeah, I just think, and another thing that I think that worked really well for us, another advice I would have is that we lived together right away. So we learned about each other,
Oh, yeah.
the little things that, you might not know about
Yeah,
someone
I
when
mean-
you aren't living with them.
Everybody's different. I don't like doing blanket statements.
Yeah.
But people who never live together, never do finances together, never have any of that shared responsibility, and then get married
Yeah, it's
is
scary.
insane to me now. Or even have a baby together and then have to navigate that without having figured out, like, if you even work together and live together. And,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because when you're with someone and, you're like at home and living together, you see them in their quote unquote like natural state, how they react to little things, big things. And when you're not living with someone, you're kind of seeing them in like a
You're seeing
show.
them-
They're
yeah.
putting on a show almost. They're
'Cause
like,
they only
they're
have
trying to be
with you
their
for a
best.
certain amount of time
Yeah.
each day.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't see them at their, what is it like when they sleep? Not when you're sleeping with them, but like, how are they,
With
do they
sleep.
snore? Are they annoying?
Are
like,
they helpful with like chores around the
Yeah.
house? Like things that are going to matter day
Yeah.
to day for the rest of your
yeah,
life.
exactly.
Are they
Little
good
things.
with
Do
that?
they take out the garbage
Yeah.
without
Do you
even,
guys have a pet together? Do they share
That
responsibility?
as well was
or is it
another
all on
thing
you?
that when we got Dexter, because we both really wanted a dog. It was something that like
Yeah,
worked
that's
on
what-
our relationship, worked on our taking care of another thing besides us. But just some of the things that I think were like catalysts for us having a good relationship. Yeah. Because I know people and I've heard of other people who don't live together and then they get married and it's like, whoa, that's different.
Yeah. I mean, it can
Okay,
work.
Oh, yeah, it can work.
It's just like such a gamble to me. Like, I like knowing what I'm getting myself into for the
Yeah.
supposedly the rest of your life. If you're getting married, your like intention is to be together forever, even though you
Exactly.
can get divorced. But like going into that, I can't imagine not knowing that sides of people.
Yeah, that's very alarming to me that people don't do that. But hey, if it works, it works. But
Yeah.
more so if you are thinking about living with someone, moving in with your
If
significant
you're an
other.
adult,
Yeah.
I don't think you should.
No, yeah, if you're under 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're in college, but if you're in college and obviously out of college, I would definitely recommend it because I think,
and always have like an out.
yeah,
Like I remember when we moved in together, I was like, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, like what's my out? So I don't feel trapped.
yeah. And I
so you
also
don't feel
still
trapped.
had an apartment. So,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
so when we
that's right.
started dating, me and my friends got a new apartment, and I think I slept
Yeah, you
in
were-
that house like 4 times.
It was like
total.
your getaway apartment in case things
I
went
paid for it
south,
for a
you
year.
could go
It was
there.
like $300
Yeah,
a
it
month.
was
It
cheap.
was not a lot, and I was making more than that. Obviously, working at my now job, and it was just there in case I needed it. But yeah, we
Luckily didn't
never.
need it.
I think literally went there like 4 nights, which is
Yeah.
crazy to think about.
That is crazy.
I will say I think it is good for like LGBTQ plus people.
Oh yeah, to find each other
Because-
especially if you're in an area that doesn't have like a set like obviously New York. Well, New York City still has a pretty big like grinder scene and stuff. But I was
Yeah.
gonna say it's easier in places like New York City because you know like what bars to go
Yeah.
to where everybody's open and like,
Because people who are a little more cautious about putting themselves out there are trying to find someone who matches with them. It's harder,
yeah, especially in like rural areas.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the better aspects of online dating and apps is that it gives people more options, which is a good thing.
I give people so much credit for this is one thing I've never had to do. I've never had to go on a legitimate date with somebody that I did not know. Never.
Same.
Everybody I dated or tried to see if it would work out, I like either knew them or they were like a friend of a friend.
Mhm.
And so I was like, oh, okay, like this person knows.
You never had
something
a
that I know.
blind date.
I never had a blind date that I just literally, that I met online and was like, yeah, you seem cool.
Saw the bullet points, saw the profile. And
Yeah. So I never had to do that.
yeah, that's intense.
That's scary to me because one, I've never done it. And two, I don't trust people. So to have to like go out in public, I guess, with this total stranger.
Yeah.
That's the creepiest part to me. Like when you're dating somebody, unless you already knew them before you started dating, it's a stranger.
Yeah.
You don't know who they are.
Could be good.
What their intentions are.
But
And
it
this
can
goes
definitely
both
not
ways.
be good.
I mean, it's definitely scarier for women for sure. Because the biggest threat to women is men statistically, but women are also just as bad.
Yeah, it's not a one-sided
It's not
argument,
a one-sided
but
thing. It's just more common that a man can like do worse things to a woman
physically dominate.
physically. But yeah, you're basically going out with a stranger. And that's scary.
That's very creepy. But it's a good thing because it puts you out there and you never know. You could find, love at first sight kind of thing. Or just you find someone that.
Or I try to look at the bright side of like a bad thing is like you learn hopefully from that.
Yeah.
Which is the podcast that I listened to. I think I mentioned it on our first episode, but it's called Something Was Wrong. And Bobby overhears me listening to it sometimes.
Quite interesting.
It's very interesting. It's
Just
basically
how manipulative people can be.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So I have that, and then I have a bunch of little short stories that people had not submitted to us, but submitted to like this article that I was reading that were really interesting about just like what crazy people, brazen people are out there. I can't believe it. Every time I listen to this podcast, I'm like, these people exist.
Yeah.
This is a real person.
It's
like,
definitely a place where sociopaths can
easily find people,
be free and exploit and take advantage of people.
Yeah. And it stinks when people,
and
because in my head, I'm always like, how did this girl not see it? Why is she still staying with this guy? But then in my head, I think back in my like past relation. I mean, I would hope that as an adult, maybe I would have been better, but who knows? I don't know.
Are these all online dating things? People who met
not all of them.
Okay. I'm just curious. Yeah. But yeah, I guess just dating in general.
Just dating. That's
a
topic.
thing where people can be taken advantage of. Absolutely.
I mean, most modern day stories, yes, start by meeting each other online somewhere.
Well, don't a lot of like serial killers of the past. That's kind of how they got their victims.
So I did find a lot of those stories, but I read through them and they were really depressing, and most of them had naughty bits that were important to the story. So I was like, don't think I'm going to talk about that. It's been known that like there's been people that have targeted people on Grindr, Tinder. Just be safe, okay? Be safe. Always tell somebody where you're going.
DTA. Don't trust anyone.
Always tell somebody where you're going and never tell them. I did learn from these stories. Every time somebody was like, the date's going really well, don't wait up for me. Never tell somebody to not wait up for you. They should be waiting up for you, even if the date is going well.
That's how they lure you in.
Yeah, because the second you're like, don't check in on me, you're never seen again. And so, but yeah, I wanted to talk about there was one season of the Something Was Wrong podcast that I was like blown away by. Because the girl talking she seemed like a very smart adult person. And that got completely fooled.
The sociopaths are also very smart people who know how to take advantage of others.
Usually they're the smart, some of the smartest people.
Well, they get bored with life and want to
which is basically what happened to this.
Stuff.
So basically, a lot of the times in these stories, men would tell women that, and the women would be like, well, that's weird, but I get it. But this woman was literally like, show me proof. I don't totally believe you. Like, I need to see proof of this. So, and he always had proof. So the whole podcast, I'm like, how in the world? Like, this guy definitely would have tricked me 100%.
I think he probably would trick most people.
So basically, this guy had a British accent. Okay. He then told so this girl started seeing this guy. He had a British accent. She thought he was great. She met him because he put out a Craigslist listing saying that he needed a nanny for his daughter. He had an assistant, apparently. So, like, when she met the assistant, she was like, oh, this is legit. She asked the assistant what he was like. She said he was great, like, great guy. And then meets him, and he's like, you know what? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if I can hire you for this job because I'm like, I feel like we kind of are hitting it off and I would rather go on a date with you. So she was just like, okay, like kind of weird that that job turned into a date. So she didn't, I guess she met him online, but not trying to date somebody. Just trying to get a job.
Lured her in.
He lured her in with the job. Perfect job, because you usually get young women that want to come be a nanny. Usually young single women who don't mind giving up a bunch of their time to like take care of your kids. So genius on his part. So he went out and basically he was love bombing her, which is, I did not know this was a thing. And now that I do, I definitely experienced this with my first boyfriend. And I think that's why he got away with so much. And that's why I like feel for women especially women inexperienced in good relationships.
I think a lot of young people love bomb.
Oh yeah. Cause they just don't know like what they're supposed to be doing. But basically, love bombing, if you did not know, because you were in a healthy relationship your whole life, is giving really inappropriate gifts. And by that, I mean like things that are really expensive or really like just over the top gifts, like a vacation to like Hawaii together or a car or like something huge and unexpected and being like, I just met you. Why are you giving me this? Mm-hmm. Never ending compliments. So constantly saying how amazing you are. You're the best person I've ever dated. You're like fantastic. Basically building you up.
If something seems too good to be true, it usually is.
It's good to compliment somebody, but there's a line between like, what are you trying to get?
Too good to be true, where it's like an overwhelming sense of like, wow, this is incredible.
Love bombing is basically
just
like
be suspicious,
feeling like you're in a fantasy, like a love fantasy.
No one's perfect.
With the perfect man.
No one is perfect. Just giving some of my advice.
Excessive communication. So like, texting constantly, calling constantly, asking what you're doing, what you're up to, like, and. I mean, I know when me and you started dating, we would text each other like in the morning, but then we would get busy.
Yeah.
Like it was a cute thing to receive like
but it wasn't text, like, what are you doing? Who are you with?
Not like 10 texts in the morning.
No. It was just good morning, love you.
Yeah.
Etc.
Have a good day.
Normal stuff.
Yeah. Constant attention. Soulmate claims. So like saying that we want to get married. I need to marry you. You're the perfect woman for me. That's always very early on. Like,
yeah. This is good. I feel like we're giving good advice here.
Yeah. Demanding commitment. Well, maybe I always hope that like if I talk about my bad experience, even though it's a little like embarrassing to talk about like past relationships and what I allowed happen to me, I always hope that it help somebody that might be in that situation and be like, I felt like something was off.
Yeah.
This is exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called? Yeah. Demanding commitment, disrespecting boundaries. So like telling somebody you don't want to do something and that, or like you don't want to see them that night because you're busy and them coming over anyway.
Sound like a lot of the red flags you were describing earlier.
Yeah. And neediness. So like, saying that they need you or, oh yeah, I also went through that. Another big red flag. See, every time I listen to this, I'm like, oh my God, like it brings memories up. But yeah, I remember my first boyfriend also was like, after when I broke up with him for very legit reasons, he would say like, that he was gonna like off himself if because of it and like that I needed to see it. So like basically using that to get to me. That's another big red flag. Like saying that you're going to do something terrible to yourself unless this other person talks to you. Huge red flag. But yeah, so this guy was doing all that. And then basically what I learned is the reason that these sociopaths do this is because they paint this like perfect image in your head. So you like fall madly in love with them and you think everything's going to be great. So once they start like showing their true colors, you keep reverting back to this image that you had. And you're like, maybe it is me because he was this great guy and he's saying I did something that made him angry. It's my fault. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy mind games. So anyway, he had a British accent. He claimed he was from England, came over. And then, she kept wanting to meet his daughter because they eventually moved in together. And she had literally made a room for his daughter and was asking what are her favorite colors. And he would send her screenshots between him and the alleged mother of this his daughter saying like, oh, she says that she likes these colors, but she really likes these colors, like making it like so in depth and detailed that why would you question that? You're like, oh my God, yeah, these are screenshots of the girl's mother saying what, like in very vivid detail what this girl likes. So she bought all this stuff, made a room for her. And then eventually when she was about to see the girl, he told her that he was in witness protection. And that's why he was dropped off, not in front of her house, and would be dropped off like blocks away. And he said he witnessed a murder by a crime boss. And there was a crime, like there was a court case going on. So he had to lay low, and that also now she needs to lay low and don't post anything on social media and all this stuff. But every time she was like, this sounds crazy, this can't be legit, he would like he would have somebody call her and say like, hey, I am his witness protection guy. What questions do you have? Or she would see like a black car drop him off somewhere, and she'd be like, or like ride by, and they'd be like, oh, that's witness protection. And she was just like, I read this, I was like, wait a minute, because they're on this show. So the whole time I'm like, well, something was wrong. So yeah. Then eventually, like once the court case that he claimed he was a part of was over, because he was showing her like in mainstream media, like this is the court case that I'm a witness for. Once that was over, then he said he had cancer and that's why he couldn't, and his mom had died. Like it was just always something dramatic to keep like her at bay, I guess.
Yep.
And eventually she learned, you got to listen to the season. It's crazy. I kind of forget. I think it's season 8. Eventually she learns he never had a daughter. He doesn't have an accent. He's not from England. He's from like Minnesota and has a Minnesota accent. He's married. He doesn't work. He said he worked in production. He does not work in production. He's not in witness protection. And she was like, and so she confronted him and was like, I just need to know, like, why? And he basically admitted that he doesn't have it. His job is pretending to be other people because that's the only way that he feels happy in life.
Crazy.
So he hates himself so much that he needs to pretend. And he told her, he was like, of course I would want to be an amazing producer who's in witness protection and everything's exciting. And I have a beautiful girlfriend who I live with and I have a daughter that I love like very much. He's like, why wouldn't I want to be that guy? And I'm like listening to the podcast, like, oh my God. This man is a psychopath.
That is creepy.
Oh my God. And then basically she like threatened to tell the wife, and he says, oh, he wrote the wife a letter and told her to read it. And he said his inner part was his dark passenger. And I was like, oh my God, he watches Dexter and he's now saying that he has some sort of like serial killer mentality inside. I was like, that was the craziest story I've ever heard. I was like, I can't believe this person exists. I can't believe.
They're like non-violent serial killers.
Well, he said because he doesn't have a job, all he does is research this like fake role.
He was like, he came from money, right? And like his wife came from money or something?
His wife came from money, so he didn't have to work. So
That's a funny term. Came from money.
So he like spent all of his time researching cancer so that he would know the correct terms to say and like what his doctors were telling him. He researched like where he lived in England and practiced his English accent. They should make this into a movie. Like probably crazy. Will. He researched like what like kids around the age he was claiming. He researched the court case and what witness protection is like. It's crazy. I was like, that every time I hear a story like that, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not dating somebody anymore. Although there are some stories of people marrying somebody pretty quickly, but then slowly realizing that they married somebody they have no idea who they actually are. Crazy. I have some pretty funny horror stories. When I say horror stories, they're not. Every time I would Google scary dating stories or horror stories, it was just like a really bad date.
Yeah.
But it's kind of creepy. So I figured it fits into this aesthetic. And all of them are pretty short. But okay, so this is the first one. I ran into a guy from high school years after graduation, and he invited me to meet up with him and some of our other friends who I'd lost contact with. Well, when I got to the restaurant, there was nobody else there, just him. Yep, I was ambushed into an unwanted date. To make it worse, he had told the waitstaff we were on a date and to take their time. 2 hours later, I was finally able to leave. He walked me to my car, even though I asked him not to. And when I went to get in, he blocked me and leaned in for a kiss, which I was not down for at all. It was a dark parking lot and there was nobody around, super sketchy. Well, something at dinner did not agree with him. So I turned my head to the side and went for a friendly hug instead of his attempted kiss, and his bowels unloaded. It was the loudest and gnarliest fart I have ever heard. It happened the second the hug commenced, and he didn't let go until the fart was done. Then he tried to kiss me again.
Oh, no.
I was reading this like, oh my God. I deflected into another awkward hug and he farted again. All in all, it was at least 45 seconds of combined ass blast. In the end, he made eye contact and said, let's do this again. I just like, every time I read one of these,
Wow.
like, how does this person exist? I don't get it. I don't understand. First of all, you should not trick somebody into going on a date with you because that's never going to end well for anybody. Like, I thought you would enjoy it.
That's hilarious. Wow. Wow. That's not really creepy. That's hilarious. Well, creepy to trap
It was
someone.
creepy that he like tricked her into
yes.
going and then also blocked her and tried to give her a kiss even though she was like
Maybe his thing is he's like
a trapper.
a trapper.
He's like,
No,
I gotcha.
He's lactose
You
intolerant.
must love me now.
He's lactose
Oh,
intolerant,
maybe.
so he goes on dates and then he just like he gets off by like hugging women while he has very disgusting long loud
that would
farts.
be a very interesting
very unique niche of
of
creepiness.
Maybe he wants to find somebody that loves his farts and this is the only way to do it. I don't know.
And he knows how long
It's
it's
so
about
weird.
2 hours after we eat.
2 hours.
He's just storing it up, just saving it. It's like, wait,
I just
That's
don't
why he
understand.
takes him
Was he like
outside.
expecting the kiss and she hugged him and like just pushed on his stomach? It's just-
no, I think that's his thing.
that's his thing. That's what he likes at the end of dates.
Yeah.
So see, that's creepy.
That is very creepy, if that's the truth.
This one's super short and kind of reminiscent of what I had been talking about earlier. I had a date with a guy who seemed nice and down to earth, but then toward the end of our date, he stated he wanted me to change my major to education so I could homeschool our children. There was no second date.
Damn.
I just don't understand how people are. I mean, at the same time, I'm like, I guess if that's what
Psychopaths.
you want, like to tell somebody that on the first date.
Yeah, but no. It doesn't work.
But also, that makes you look like a terrible person that you don't care about what the other person wants.
Yeah.
It's again just being like, this is what I want, so I want your whole life to change.
I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there for that crazy person who wants.
But that's what I mean. Like, I guess it's good that he brought that up on the first date.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be with
Yeah.
somebody who's going to resent you for having a job if he doesn't want you to.
You're just really pigeonholing yourself there. But hey, if you know what you want, you know what you want.
I guess.
Wow. Creepy.
I said there's no second date if you didn't.
Yeah, I heard that.
If you
Yeah.
didn't already
said
guess that. I would agree. I think both of those I would have passed on afterwards. Oh my God, this one's actually creepy. I told this guy I played the piano, and half an hour later he said, if I wanted you to always remember me, I'd break your ring fingers, you know, because they don't heal well, and then you'd always think of me while playing. Safe to say, I left the restaurant fairly quickly.
There's a lot of psychos out
What?
there.
I just don't know. What was he thinking in his head? Did he think that was funny? Like that was a funny,
Yeah.
quirky thing to say? Not on
Wow.
a first date, man. Like,
Wow. Some people.
I went out with a girl one night, and after dinner, she drove me up into the mountains. I was new to the area. After a while, when there was no more lights, she started talking about serial killers. I still remember her saying, I used to think about getting away with stuff like that sometimes.
Is that it?
That was it.
I guess she died. Well, no.
She died. No, well, it was a girl saying that to a guy. A girl drove a guy up to the mountains alone and then
Damn.
started talking about serial killers and how she wondered if she would get away.
Damn.
I'd be pretty freaked out. I'd be like, why are you telling me this while we're alone in the woods?
Me too.
Yeah, were you expecting something?
Glad you brought me here.
Me too. This is
very,
really convenient. for
very
me.
convenient.
Especially because it's your place. Nobody's gonna be looking for me here.
I see that gun you have over there. Shotgun mounted on the wall.
It okay, next story. It wasn't a date to me, but it was to him. He was a friend of my cousin's, so we were sort of friends as well. He talked nonstop about his ex-fiance. She was his fourth fiance and got really angry. I would say that's a red flag. Unless there was like a really tragic, ridiculous story to every
Let me tell you
single
this story
one.
about my ex-fiance. Well, she was my fourth one.
I feel like what happened to
See
the
ya.
other three? Oh, they all died. Unrelated reasons.
So you didn't marry him? No, they're all fiancés. Okay. We
didn't get that far. I proposed immediately. And some of them said yes. So then I just waited to see which one panned out. He got really angry when I mentioned one of my exes briefly, even though it was relevant to our conversation. That's weird too. If a guy can like be like, yeah, I had wives and fiancés and all these girlfriends, and then the second a girl's like, yeah, I did. I be like, how dare you say that you were with somebody else? I'm the only one. Even though it was that was when I decided it was 100% not going to lead anywhere. After a few more days of him blowing up my phone with texts and me not being proactive with replying, I decided ghosting was not the way to go. Told him outright I was not interested in him. I sent him a detailed message as I did not want to phone him and make him think calling was an option. He knew I finished work at 10 p.m. and as it turned from 9:59 to 10 p.m., the first message came through on WhatsApp. I ignored it, so he sent it as a text, then a Facebook message. At 10:15, he called my phone, called through WhatsApp, and called my Facebook. I put my phone on airplane mode so I could eat, shower, and watch my favorite show in peace. I even turned off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I switched it all back on at midnight to set my alarm for the next day. I had 17 missed call alerts, 35 texts, 40 WhatsApp messages, 20 odd Facebook messages, and 10 plus WhatsApp calls, all between 10:30 and midnight. I don't get it. Dude, they were only on one date.
Wow.
At 12:05, I got another text, so I blocked him. The next day, he drove up and down the street outside my workplace. My work had a massive window, and I could see. He used his own car, his mom's car, his dad's car, and his sister's car. This went on for weeks. All of it took place between July and September, but then he was married to someone else by the end of the year. What? 4 fiancés.
That is some story. There are, and I've said this and I will continue to say this, there are some very creepy, interesting, weird people in the world.
That's so crazy. I just don't understand. It's
Wow.
not even like they were in a relationship. Not to say that should be warranted ever.
Yeah.
But they weren't
To have
even,
that level of passion.
Yeah, for after like a date and after somebody said they are not interested in you.
He wanted to make her ex-fiance number 5. Maybe he's
He's
got
like, I didn't even get to propose to
maybe
you.
he's got a thing for just having ex-fiancés.
He just likes proposing to people.
I actually have 20 ex-fiancés.
He's like, I need to propose
I told
to
you 4 so it wouldn't sound that crazy.
Maybe just says everybody was a fiance because in his head they
Yeah.
were. That's even crazier.
Oh my God. You got more?
This last one is only one sentence. Mid-date, he placed his hand on my stomach and said, "My son will grow here."
Someone was watching Game of Thrones.
I was just gonna say that's like Game of Thrones, straight up Game of Thrones. You will bear my son, like right when they meet you. Like,
I will place a prince in your belly. Wow.
I mean, like it's even weirder. I mean, it would be weird if somebody put their hand on my stomach at a first date halfway through and was like, "My child will be in here soon." But there's even an upper level of creepiness
Saying
to say, "My
boy,
son."
My son.
That's the only acceptable child.
I mean, it would be funny if that was like a joke.
I mean,
If
it
you
might
were-
have been, but like
but
not
still.
on a first date. Nobody knows you and if you're joking or not. Save the weird jokes for later in the relationship when you
Give it like
see that somebody
give it
may
like 6 months to a year. When they get to know
because
you
some
a
of
little
this
bit.
could be taken as a joke for sure, but only if you really know the person.
Yeah. If you have a story about something we're talking about dating, and if you have a really funny, creepy dating story, even though we've already talked about dating, maybe if you want to,
Yeah, that might be good. Then we can share.
we can go
favorites
back
at
and
the top of the episode
we
next
can go
time or
back and
something.
talk about it. So if you do have a story, creepy, funny, whatever it may be, that about something we've talked about in the past or in this current episode, feel free to still leave us a message, text, or voice. I will say, from our limited experience with it, as fun as it may be to leave a voicemail, I've noticed that they are not the most well composed and the audio quality is often not great. A text message might be best, although it may be fun to hear your voice in the podcast.
Or definitely write it out.
Write it out, practice it, and record it, even record it a couple times till you feel like it's good. Because a lot of the times we'll be hearing good voice recordings or good stories, but the audio quality is bad, or there's a lot of like mess ups in it. And it's like, this doesn't really work well. So a text is good because we will read your story and we may be able to like
edit it,
vocalize it a little bit better than you may be. We have gotten a lot of like good suggestions, and it is good to see like a lot of people ask for dating. So we knew, okay, that's something we should talk about.
Dating was a big one. School was a big one, which is funny because when I look at like the stats, school is one of the higher episodes.
Yes,
YouTube,
more relatable.
The first two were really high, obviously, because it was the first two. But then like we've hit like a momentum.
Yeah, I saw
with
camping hasn't done the best, which I expected.
It like we do some for us, I guess, and for people that are interested.
I mean, everything doesn't have to be successful, but it's a matter of
but I think like school did good, dating did good.
Yeah. Well, more relatable ones. Not everyone
dating probably will do good.
Yeah, not everyone can camp or is able to, so I get that.
More general topics that everybody experiences school, everybody experiences.
But keep them coming.
Dating.
And like I said, if you don't feel like you can vocalize your thoughts well, do a text, because a text is good as well.
Yeah. And remember,
everything is creepy.